Hallo liebe Buffys und hallo liebe Wartower-User. 6 Tage lang waren wir jetzt für euch nonstop auf der Messe unterwegs. Gestern sind wir zurückgefahren und heute stehen wir schon wieder im Studio. Ja, das ist das, was wir hier für euch machen. Wir arbeiten einfach nonstop durch, um euch alles Material, was wir haben, rauszuhauen. Und was gibt es heute? Heute gibt es 45 Minuten die komplette Demo, die uns Eric Flannum vorgespielt hat, also das Menschengebiet, das Char-Gebiet. Eric Flannum auf Englisch erklärt alles haargenau, was man zu sehen bekommt und wie sich das Ganze anspielt und was sich die Entwickler dabei gedacht haben. Es ist eine enorm spannende Präsentation, die wollten wir euch nicht vorenthalten, deswegen schaut sie euch an und gute Unterhaltung.
So, the story of Guild Wars 2 takes place about 250 years after the events in Guild Wars 1. During this intervening time, the elder dragons, which have been asleep in the world, have awakened and have corrupted much of Tyria. In Guild Wars 2, it's only through the efforts of the 5 races in the world coming together where we're going to be able to actually attempt to save the world. In the demo, we're actually going to be playing through 2 races, our human race. We're going to play through your introductory experience as a human character. We're also going to play a mid-level, a mid-40s level Char experience. You're probably familiar with the Char in Guild Wars 1. It was the antagonists in Guild Wars 1. They're a fierce feline race. And so we'll be walking you through that as well. In Guild Wars 2, there's 8 different professions. We have announced 3 of them previously to GamesCom, our warrior profession, ranger, and elementalist. Here at GamesCom, we're actually just now announcing our necromancer class or profession. And so if you actually make it out on the show floor, you'll be able to play that as well in the demo. So here in character selection, we're going to start by, again, playing a human, and we'll start with an elementalist. Elementalist is a spellcaster who channels elemental forces when causing destruction. We have simplified character customization within the demo experience. So just know that in the game itself, there will be millions of ways to customize your character. So one of the core concepts of Guild Wars 2, and something that really is an innovation that we're very proud of, is the personal storyline. And this is a part of our character biography, where we're going to go through a set of questions that actually will start to set the background of your character, and will start to, depending upon the choices you make, will start to branch the story of your character as you play through the world. So there's some very, very cool stuff in here. So the first choices we're going to make and deal with some visual characteristics of your character now. We're going to make a choice that has to do with some disposition of your personality. When you play through the world and make choices, depending upon the way, the nature of those choices, it will actually help craft your personality in the world. So we've got charm and dignity and ferocity as base levels. This is actually another very important question. This actually will, it's about your social standing and how you grew up. And it actually impacts the very beginning of the game and how you start your story. We were choosing between whether or not we were raised by common folk, among the nobility, or raised in the streets. So we'll make a few more choices here through character creation, and this is again all plays into how our personal story is going to start. So here we have our biography. It's a summary of the choices we just made. We'll create our character's name, and we will move right into the world. We're going to see an example of our style for in-game cinematics.
We've been defeated, driven back, and broken, but we will not surrender. So many nations nations have fallen. Only Critus still stands. Our faith is strong, despite the silence of the six gods. With courage, we'll make our stand in divinity's watch.
So from here on, the cinematic is actually now going to be customized based upon some of our earlier choices. This would be different for different players if they selected different things.
Today, we stepped outside of divinity's reach to see the world. When we arrived in Cologne, the town was under siege by centaurs. Innocent villagers are in danger. Someone has to help.
And this is our character there.
Lives in fear. I have to fight. I have to make a stand. This is my story.
Okay. So now we're going to be going into what is kind of our tutorial experience. You're going into Shamor, which, as we just learned, is under attack by centaurs. And what we wanted to accomplish with this was to put the character in a dangerous, exciting situation right off the bat, instead of putting them in a really tutorial-seeming experience. So first, we're going to talk to Corporal Byrne here, and you can see these are the steps in your personal story. And he's telling us that there are villagers that we can send to the inn, and that the inn is kind of the safe place. So one of the things you'll notice is that one of the storytelling techniques we like to use, you'll see a lot of characters with kind of VO out in the world, voiceover. And we do that so that some players really like to get in depth and read a lot of text, and some players don't. And we don't want to force anybody to have to read kind of in-depth stuff when they don't want to. And so we use a lot of instruction kind of with just in-world scenes and things like that. Matthew will probably get into a fight with some centaurs here soon. And one of the things you'll notice, there's no auto attack in the game. So whenever he executes a skill, it's because he's used the skill. We didn't want our combat to be really static and to be the sort of combat where you kind of have your hands off the keyboard and you don't you just let your character attack. That being said, some players don't enjoy spamming buttons, and so we also allow any players to set any skill on auto attack by right-clicking it. So you can do that with any skill. A lot of people like to use the #1 skill because that kind of simulates auto attack, but I know some players that like to use it on their heal because they often forget to heal themselves during combat, and so they find that that's a good tool to help keep them alive. Another thing you'll notice as he's attacking guys is he doesn't have to stop moving while he's using a lot of his attacks. He can do a lot of his attacks on the run, and that's because, again, we wanted positioning to matter. We wanted players, flanking creatures and lining up particular shots to matter a lot. And so you'll find a lot of the skills are sort of usable on the run, and that gives the game a little bit more of an action-y feel. So now that we've sent some villagers to safety, we're going to go to the inn and see what Sergeant Walters wants from us. And then this is going to be another example of an in-game cutscene, and one of the ways we tell story. Oh yeah, too close. I don't think that's us, actually. I don't know. Okay, I'll stand over here then. Okay, so now she's just informed us that Logan is at the Garrison holding out and that he needs help. So Matthew's going to go over toward the Garrison and try to see if he can help out. One of the things to note is a lot of the use of like weather effects and things like that to create atmosphere. We're very big on you know, kind of changing weather, night and day cycles, really changing up the environment to kind of immerse people in the environment. Okay. So now that he's gotten to the garrison, he finds that the gates are closed and the garrison needs help with the centaurs that are outside here. He's about to experience his first dynamic event, and one of the things that happens is dynamic events, by their very nature being dynamic, are difficult to predict when they're going to happen. And so right now he's got this small task of kind of helping to defend the garrison while we're waiting for the event to kick off. This is the sort of thing that we do in the tutorial to kind of give players a really gradual experience and introduction into how dynamic events work and how the game works. So one of the things you can notice Matthew did, he's an elementalist, so he just switched to water attunement. Now his first skill is going to do a little bit less damage than that fireball he had, but it will heal allies who are in the area where it hits. And so that's a good example of how water is kind of different. You can also notice him dodging. You can double tap in any direction to dodge out of the way of harmful effects. You see he didn't get hit by the arrow there. A lot of creatures, you'll notice as we go through, have kind of big attacks that you can see them charging up. That's a good warning that you probably should dodge out of the way. One of the other things to note is that, again, this is another example. For players who want to talk to the guy and get a little bit more information, they can do that. That was actually really good timing. You went up and talked to him right when the event kicked off. So now we're in our first dynamic event. You can see that it's defend the garrison. This is a really simple kind of holdout event, defend the garrison from centaurs. Right now there are currently no other live players, and so you can see there's only a few centaurs coming in at a time. If other players were to join the fight, you would see the event kind of dynamically scale up. So again, this is just how the world can kind of change. I think there's another player that showed up there. There's one other elementalist there. So he's using a skill right there that's a charge skill. So the longer he holds that down, the more ice shards it throws out. There are a lot of different variants of skills in the game. There are skills that you hold down, and then when you release them, they start ending their effect. There are charge skills like the one we just saw, where you hold them down to get greater power. He's using his heal right now, which the longer he holds it down, he just kind of constantly heals. So here comes a champion Modnir High Sage. You can tell he's a champion character, so he's a little bit more of a, not quite a boss, but a special, tougher character. And there's Logan in there, helping out the Seraph. So you'll notice we succeeded in defending the garrison. You get an event success thing. You'll notice he's been rewarded with experience and karma. And so he can click that. He got gold participation, which just means he participated to a good enough degree to feel like he could get the game gauge that he could get rewarded for the entire thing. So this is an example of an event chain. They defeated the Centaur Shaman, and it's chaining into this boss event now. This is a good example of the sort of thing that we want to do for players, which is we don't want players to have sort of menial tasks and fight really weak opponents at the beginning of the game. We want to throw them into the action and make them feel like heroes. And so you'll get to fight, you know, big bosses like this even as early as the tutorial. So you notice the elemental is throwing off bits and pieces of itself. So that was kind of the end of the initial tutorial experience in the game. So that was all just the part where we expect players to be learning about the game and to just kind of get the basics. And now your personal story continues.
You were injured when the elemental exploded. Captain Falcon apparently hurt personally. You were unconscious for 3 days. We had lots of visitors.
So this is a point where again, you can see your personal story is branching. These particular characters that came and visited you are different characters depending on the choices that you made during your biography creation, and the story is really going to start branching out dramatically from here.
Thanks for taking such good care of me. Not at all. Sheila is in London. We enjoy your protecting your traumas.
Okay, so we've got our, we finished part of our story, and so we get rewarded for that. So Matthew gets a dagger and can also pick another weapon as a reward. And then he's just leveled up, and his story continues. So one of the things you can do is you can always go back. This is your kind of story journal. You can go back and kind of read about what you've done and also figure out what you're currently doing in your story. One of the things that we're going to show you now is a thing we call our scout system. So one of the things that's kind of the nature of having a world full of dynamic events is that you never quite know what's going to be out there when you get out there. And so our solution to showing players kind of where they need to go to experience events is this system. So he right now is just describing the residents. It unfogs this area of the map that he hasn't been to. It's describing some of the people he can go out and help. And the idea is that when you go out to these people, they have little tasks and little things that you can help them with. And then in all likelihood, while you're helping them, a dynamic event is going to kick off at some point. And so so there we go. We refog the map because we want explorer types to be able to feel like they can go out and explore. We don't want to reveal the entire map for you. You got a big green arrow there showing you the area to go into. Yeah. And you'll notice also, yeah, the whole interface is very painterly and kind of goes in with our art style. So Matthew's going to go run out there. He's actually one of the reasons we're sort of in communication with our group playing from Washington is that kind of the dynamic event system is it's dynamic, it's unpredictable, and so Matthew's in communication with them to try to figure out where we can go to make sure we see an event. Normally you would have on your map kind of those hearts showing you areas where you could go. Again, notice, you know, nighttime, really pretty. Our artists, I think, have done a wonderful job. So we just popped into one of the areas where we can help a farmer, Farmer George in particular, make the area around the pumping station safe for him. And so this is another thing. You'll notice you never have to go to an NPC to get a task or to initiate something. Things pop up in the world as you go to them. You're notified of them. If you're the kind of player that really likes to talk to NPCs and wants to get more of that depth, wants to know a little bit more about things, you can go over and find this character and talk to him, and he can inform you in more depth about what's going on. But we don't want to force that upon anybody. And so, so if you want to, you can kind of go through and experience things. So we're wandering around right now trying to see if we can find something. One of the things that you'll notice is we try to make things very visual in the world. So for example, that pump house we were just at can actually get poisoned by bandits. And when it gets poisoned, you'll see these sprinklers turn into shooting out kind of green poison. And then the spawns in that field will change to be these sort of poisonous grubs. And okay, so notice we just got into range of an event. There are bandits trying to burn down this wheat field, and so you notice there are a lot of other players participating in the area, and he just kind of happened upon this. He didn't initiate it. He didn't have to talk to an NPC in order to get into it. He just saw some bandits doing some bad things in the field and is helping. Notice he's reviving an NPC right now. Every player character in the game can revive any other PC and most NPCs when they go down. One of the reasons we do that is because we didn't want that reliance on a particular profession to be able to resurrect other players. We want to make it so that you're just always happy to see other players. Other players always bring value to the party, and so everybody in the game can revive other players. So you see there's another player who was downed and used some of his skills to rally himself back up. Matthew might need to heal soon. So that's one of the thing Matthew just did right now is one of the sort of, we have a lot of interactable sort of environmental elements that do things. So like that was just a little wormhole he stomped on and a worm came out. Why don't you go pick up a bucket, Matthew, and see if you can... So one of the things that we like to do with events and we like to do with our environmental objects is provide some alternative things for players to do. So I don't think any of the bales of hay are on fire right now, but you can see Matthew has picked up the bucket and his skills changed. And so he can actually go water the crops over there. He can also use that bucket to and he's helping out the farmer by doing that. He can also use the bucket to put out some of the hay bales when the bandits manage to light them on fire, although the players seem to have those guys under control right now. Yeah. Why don't you go in and fight a little bit more? Okay. So you see he's been a great help to the farmer. He helped do that. He's been kind of ignoring the bandits burning the fields. But this is just kind of the freedom that we want to allow players to take part in events, not take part in events, go do your personal story. We want players to be able to kind of play the game the way they want to and do the things that they're most interested in doing. Okay. We're going to jump into our char experience, which is kind of a mid-level experience. You're going to get to see, we don't have a lot of personal story for this because we didn't want to throw people in the middle of a story that you've supposedly been doing for the last 47 levels. It would be kind of confusing, and so we have a quick demo story that will take you around the world. Instead, we're going to let you see a little bit of warrior gameplay, and we're going to let you see a little bit of what it's like to have kind of that full skill bar and what it's like to experience some higher level content. So this is a kind of a cool thing. Since it's night, those weapons are ghostly weapons and they actually glow during the night. During the day, they don't glow. So one of the things that we'd like to try to do with our weapons and make them very visually cool, we've got weapons that glow when enemies are nearby. We've got icy weapons that break apart occasionally and do a bunch of ice damage, and then they reform really quickly. We've got kind of clockwork weapons that are concealable. When you draw them, they kind of expand and collapse, that sort of thing. So we wanted the weapons to have a lot of character as well. So you'll note Matthew's got a bunch of bow skills. I don't know if you want to fire one of those off and show. So he's got bow skills. The warrior with a bow is a really competent ranged attacker. He's got good damage, and he's, it's not just for pulling. He's actually got a lot of good skills on that. If you want to kind of change your capabilities, you can just change weapons. Go ahead and change weapons. You notice as he changed weapons, his first 5 skills changed, and now he's a range damage dealer. He's wielding 2 axes, and so what he can do changes dramatically based on what weapon you've got in your hands. where are we going to go now? Matthew right now is communicating with the people to try to find out where events are going on. Okay, so we're going to go down to Dragon Watch. Again, dynamic event system, so we're not quite sure what's going on where. Okay, so this event is actually a fighting pit event. So the Char like to train. The Char have a lot of Roman influence, and so they bring that, you know, kind of gladiatorial pit thing. This is an example of a player-initiated event. Many events in the world just kind of happen. This one waits for a player to come along and kick it off. So now that Matthew's kicked it off, excuse me, any player who comes along in the world can participate. Right now he's choosing what kind of enemies he wants to fight against. Important to note, you noted the timer going across top. That's actually a voting system. So when we do choice in these, we take into account these are multiplayer events, and so we let players vote on what the next wave is going to be. He chose to fight against other Char, and he's a lot higher level than them, so he's going to kind of beat up on them a lot.
What would you guys like to see?
Beast, go branded. Branded? Yeah. Let's see if they got their votes in time. Yeah. So here come some branded creatures. So you notice he's got a lot of AoE damage there on his bow. And the guys were really clumped up. Yeah. That Char's a little whirlwind of destruction over there. Go ahead and go in the middle of those guys and stomp. It's always a fun skill. So you just sent a bunch of guys flying with the stomp skill. So you notice right there, that's actually a warrior comboing with doing a cross-profession combo with an elementalist. He was using whirling axe through a firewall, and you see he was spitting fireballs out. Guys should definitely pick beasts this time. Sure. No, so there are some other players there and some NPCs. It's a mix. So there's a player right there. Anybody who shows up as kind of that light blue color is another player. So there are players voting on things, all of that. So yeah. Yeah, that was one of the reasons why we have our group playing from home. We have about 150 to 200 people playing right now with everyone here at GamesCom because we just wanted to show you what it's like to play with a bunch of other players, what it's going to be like when, you know, the game releases and you've got a big group of players in the map. Okay, so you can see they completed that event. Matthew got gold because he was kind of there the whole time and contributed a lot. This is sort of the prettier area. This is the area. You can go to the giant crystal, searing crystal. So we've still got some of those for people who are familiar with Guild Wars 1. This is the area that was the searing area where all of the crystals fell and it was all orange and kind of destroyed. You can see that it's made a comeback, although not entirely. So this is actually that exact map. I don't know if you remember it from Guild Wars 1. There was this map that was kind of a big crater with the giant crystal in the middle, and this is that area of the world. Although I think it looks quite a bit better than it did before. So again, he's run into another event here. There is a Derman Priory, or he's run into another guy who needs his help, and now he's got an event. So so this is the Grawl actually in our game are a returning race, enemy race. They tend to worship natural objects in the world, and they actually are taken to worshiping this thing, but the Derman Priory want to study it, and so they want you to decrease the morale of the Grawl in the area so that you can drive them away. missed with that one. So notice dodging out of the way. Looks like there's another warrior around helping him out. Or is that, no, that's a Grawl. Okay. So you might want to change your melee. Try skill 5. That's always good fun. So that's Whirlwind Axe. It's a little different from the way it was in the first game. One of the other things to note with the warrior, that first skill as he's doing it changes. So he's driven away the Grawl. Again, event succeeded and he's helped the Scholar. This is a Derman Priory encampment that's studying the brand, and in particular is studying the area around what used to be Serenity Temple in Guild Wars 1, which is now in the middle of the brand. So not only did it get branded and kind of destroyed, but it's also inhabited by Ascalonian ghosts. And so we can see some of our first glimpse at the ghosts of Ascalon, which is also the title of our book. So you notice there are a lot of other players in this area. There's the old statue of Duena that used to be there. It's sort of worse for wear. You can you go up and examine it, or is it not? That's being problematic. Okay. So this is actually, he's in an area, so we have our trait system, and he's in an area where actually a necromancer, if you're a necromancer character, you could earn one of your traits. So traits are earned through what we call profession challenges. Profession challenges are activities that you can do that are geared toward kind of reinforcing the themes around your profession. So in this case, a necromancer could come here and talk to some of the Ascalonian ghosts and learn a few things about becoming a better necromancer. So these are your traits. So what you do is you have a certain number of categories of traits. As you learn them, you can slot them to make your character better. They basically do passive things, but they tend to be often very significant things that change up the way your character plays. So traits is another form of way to customize your character.
So let's we should turn to Q&A, and we're actually there's an event we really want to show you.
Yeah. Is it that like that? But it's got a lot of voice in it. So this is yeah, beyond anything we've ever done. I mean, it's yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
In English, what's about localization in French and Germany?
So are we? What are we talking about? For French and German.
We haven't announced languages we'll be in yet, but you'll notice out on the show floor German.
It's in German on the show floor right now. So if that's we haven't decided our full thing. Is it good to go? Did he show up? Okay. Okay. Do you want to? There you go. So this is the event we wanted to show you. This is the Shatterer. So he's he's the sort of boss that I think in most games you would expect to find at the end of a dungeon, or only for very elite players. This is an example of he just got encased in crystal there. So this is an example of the type of event that we want all of our players to be able to experience. This is a mid-level boss. We talk about the Elder Dragons in the world. This is not even one of the Elder Dragons. The Elder Dragons are much bigger than him. So this is the sort of thing that it's a big, kind of epic style event that a lot of players can participate in. You see he's manning a mortar right there and firing off a mortar. And I think we've got, like 30, 40 players, something like that, fighting this right now. So we built a lot of kind of teamwork moments into this boss too. You'll notice that crystal he got in earlier. Other players can attack the crystal and break him out of it. If they do that before it explodes, then they'll save him taking a lot of damage. There are also things like, there again, he's reviving another player. Another player's helping in to make it faster. You can see he actually succeeded in that artifact event that he was over by earlier. So he's just summoned a war banner. The war banner buffs allies in the area. He can also pick that up and move it. It turns into an environmental weapon. So if he wants to, notice again his skills change, so now he can plant that banner wherever he wants it. Yeah, you're back up against So you notice again, as he went through that firewall, he started scattering fire around. That's an example of one of the cross-profession combos. Now he's reviving some poor ranger's pet. So they're able to revive a ranger's pet when it's down. What was that? Sorry?
There are 3 indicators.
Oh yeah. So those are points on the dragon that you can target specifically.
And the red ones I have been targeted on, those are the special vulnerabilities. So
oh no. So red is indicative of where he's targeting actually. So you notice he'll fire at the body part that he has targeted. So one of the things you'll notice is Matthew occasionally dodging out of the way of things. You can do that really simply by double tapping in a direction. Again, that comes in handy. You'll notice one of the things we try to do, you know, our effects are very visual. You know, you can kind of tell what's going on. One of the things we try to do is give you really good indicators. So you see that one effect right there showed that purple ring before it landed. That was an indication of the area that it was going to affect. And so we wanted to really make it clear, hey, this is going to hit this area. You better dodge out of it. Why don't you go take a look at one of the cannons if you can. So one of the other things that happens, you notice the mortars in the back, there are also cannons, 2 of which are currently destroyed. There's actually an event that is to escort a repair crew up to here to repair those cannons. And so this is an example of events affecting other events. So he's going to go over to this cannon right now and control it. So this is another thing he can do. He can control it and he can use that to attack the Shatterer. He can use it to, you can see it does a lot of damage. He can use it to attack some of the guys down there. And one of the things that's another teamwork moment kind of built in is if all the players were back at these cannons, he would start creating minions that would come up and try to destroy the cannons and the mortars. And then those would become unavailable for players. So all those players up there are actually kind of shielding the guys who are back here on the mortars and cannons. So you can see there's one of the minions making its way up the battlefield there. Okay, so now the Shatterer has actually gone into kind of a protective shell. He's healing himself. So what players can do is destroy those crystals to try to minimize the amount of healing that he's getting. Oh, they're being pretty slow about it though, I don't know. Are we basically out of time here? Okay. So this is an example again of a pretty big epic boss fight event in the world. And again, to remind you, this is not, end game. This is level 40, high level 40s with, 80 levels in the game. So you can expect to see some pretty spectacular stuff as you go through the game. 80. And our sort of position on leveling is that similar to what we had in Guild Wars 1, which is just that to us levels are not an end, they're a sort of a means to an end. We regard levels as a good measure of progress, but not as the way that the end goal of the game. And so with that in mind, we basically, our level curve is actually flattens out pretty quickly. We basically determine sort of the time it takes you to level that feels really good. Let's say it's, every 90 minutes it feels really good to level, and once you get past 90 minutes for a level, it starts feeling like grind. We're basically saying, okay, we shut it, we flatten our curve out at the point at which it starts feeling like grind. And so to us, leveling is just a progress indicator. It's not the end-all be-all of the game. So, yeah. So we haven't talked a lot detail-wise about PvP. We are going to have, I can reiterate what we've said, which is we have two different types of PvP. We have, our competitive PvP, which is you take your character to the world and then it makes you exactly even with all other players, where same skills available, same levels, everything. There's no power progression. You can get cosmetic rewards in that type of PvP, but there's no power progression. And then we've got our world versus world, which is uses character level. You take your character kind of as is, and it's this big week-long fight between 3 different servers, or worlds as we like to call them. And it's got a lot of, kind of big strategy in it, and castle sieges and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. No, so we're not really, we don't like to work backwards from those sorts of dates. What we're trying to do right now is just concentrate on making the game as good as it can possibly be. When we feel like it's ready for any kind of a demo, we'll probably announce that. The game's a really ambitious game. It's a really big game. I know we've gotten lots of questions from people, well, it sounds too good to be true, like that you guys just can't do it, sort of thing. And hopefully you guys will see that we are actually doing it, but it's a lot of work, and it's a tough game to develop, and so we really want to get it right, and so we're really concentrating on just making it. We feel like our fans and MMO fans in general deserve a great game, and so we're going to wait until it's ready, basically. And our any kind of public demo is going to be sometime before that, but we really don't know just yet. So. For what? Sorry?
Closed beta.
Yeah, we'll probably start up some sort of closed alpha or beta test at some point. Again, haven't announced any timeline for it, but we felt like our alpha was really important to us in Guild Wars 1. We got a lot of great feedback. We enjoy working with our players, and we want to continue that. So we'll definitely have something like that. But again, no timeline yet.
So thank you guys for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.